Can you believe it? In just 24 hours, we're back on the gridiron here in South Georgia, or should I say, my happy place. As you can see, and as you'll notice throughout the show, a fresh new look here on Sports Talk and Locker Room Report this season. Morgan Jackson and Janier Cooper now joining me. Ladies, football is back. But before we get out to that, how are you feeling about this new look?
I like it. We look good.
Big fan. I'm a big fan.
We do look good in these boxes. I like the green. I like the colors. I like football, and that's what we're going to get to tonight. 2 hours. We're talking all 52 teams. You are not going to want to miss this. We are starting right here on ABC and NBC, and we are going to carry over to our digital platform, our WALB app or WALB.com. But before we start, we have to talk about the biggest change this offseason. It's the region realignment within the GHSA. So many teams moving around. We're going to start in that 6A region, and let's start right there. We're talking about Colquitt County, Valdosta, Lowndes, and Tift County. Janier, Morgan, these are 4 teams that we've had high expectations for. All 4 teams throughout the past 2 decades at some point have been popular, have been state champions, have been fighting for state championships. And now we see these teams come, Colquitt County. Just what about these teams stand out to you, Janier?
I mean, nothing out of the ordinary that we're not already used to from these teams. Like Colquitt ranked 5th in the 6A class. They did lose some big talent to graduation, including obviously their starting quarterback. They have won the region in 3 of the past 5 seasons, so they've been pretty dominant in this group, but with all new fresh faces for them and a tough team in Valdosta, I mean, a 4th region title is just going to be really difficult for Colquitt, I think, this season.
Yeah, Morgan, we've talked about Valdosta, I think ad nauseum this offseason, just about what we expect from them. They're another team that I want to talk about, though. That's the Lowndes Vikings. Lowndes has struggled over the past couple of seasons. There's a lot of talk coming out of that Valdosta area about the Lowndes program. Where do you see them right now?
I think Lowndes is going to do pretty well this season. I'm excited for them. I talked to Coach Carter. I was at their practice this season, and he told me they have a new look on offense. I think I'm most excited to see what Juice can do for that team this year. Yeah,
I think the 2 biggest coaching spots that I'm looking at is Shelton Felton with those expectations at Valdosta, and then Adam Carter at Lowndes. And they both spoke about what they need to do differently this year.
Got to get better on Friday nights in those situations. We got to capitalize better in those situations. We got to play better in big games, and that starts with me to getting the kids better. I think we're working toward that stage right now.
It's a me society sometimes, and in a team sport, you've got to be able to flip that. And so we've spent all spring and summer trying to talk about that and talk about doing it for somebody else and all those things. And I think you can tell when you're in the weight room and in our locker room just how they interact with each other and coaches that we're getting in the right spot.
Now, both of those teams are trying to get in the right spot. Another team joining the top region in this, or top teams in this region, it's the Tift County Blue Devils, and they've struggled mightily over the past couple of seasons. But they got a new head man in charge in Jeff Littleton, and this is a program that in the past has seen success. How do they adjust to now playing the big dogs of Colquitt, Valdosta, and Lowndes, Morgan?
I think I say this all the time. I'm a big believer in a coach has to really lay their foundation. I think we saw what Coach Littleton did when he was at Bainbridge. We saw what he did at Worth. And I think he's going to do the same thing at Tift County. I just think it's going to take a while.
Now, Janier, Bainbridge, he did a masterful job there, and they were in contention every year. You got to speak to Coach. What about him kind of stood out to you?
I just think it's willing to win. He wants to bring that winning culture back to Tift County. And I think when you have a coach that buys in, it makes it easier for all the other players to buy in and also assistant coaches to buy in. Then you have your community buying in. And I think all that together is what kind of builds a successful winning program. And I think Jeff Littleton is just the start there in Tift County.
Yeah, I liked what I saw in the scrimmage. The culture has definitely seemed to start shifting there. We move to the 5A region. The 5A region is one we've talked a lot about. These are some absolute dogs. And when I say dogs, I mean state champions. When we think about these 3 teams, to me, this is the best region in all of the state. And I want to start directly with the 2 defending state champions, and the Coffee Trojans and the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets. Both teams went undefeated last year. I don't think that they can duplicate that performance, but they can come pretty close. So I want to talk a little bit about how Lee County fits into this region. Morgan, we've watched a lot of Lee County since we've been here. What about Lee County gives you hope that they can compete?
Usmani Chroma. I mean, who else would you say other than Usmani Chroma? And I just feel like Lee County being Lee County, they're a storied program. And I think Lee County and Coffee met in the playoffs, I want to say maybe the year before we came here. So, I mean, they're no stranger to this region. They have Usmani, Weston's back. Coach Fabrizio is going to do what he has to do. I think they're a perfect fit for this region, honestly.
Janier, do you think this is the most difficult region in the state? And I know we're not familiar with the teams that are up north in Atlanta all the time, but down here in the South, we know that these three teams have gone on deep playoff runs, have won state championships. Where do you see this region stacking up across the state?
I obviously think it's the best region today. If you look at this region and then in all of Class 5A, all of the top 10 in 5A could realistically compete for a state championship. And when you look at this record, I mean 30-0 between TCC and Coffee. Obviously that is not normal in high school football. So I just think when you look at this and all the talent across the board, this is easily one of the most difficult.
Yeah, unique situation. You talk about two coaches in Mike Coe and Justin Rogers coming over from other squads, Coe coming from Florida, Rogers over there in Colquitt. And immediately, we saw the results immediately. And most of the time when you get a new coach, it takes some time in order for them to instill their culture and that sort of thing.
Just 2 years for both these coaches.
Just 2 years. Like, they did it almost instantaneously. And year one, they were all really close.
They were right at the cusp.
And they fell in region play, or they fell in the playoffs. And then year two was an undefeated season, a state championship. What has impressed you most about these coaches, Janier?
Just what you guys said, how it's only been this short amount of time. I mean, it takes time to learn players. In high school, it's harder. You have guys coming in and out every 4 years. So to learn what each team needs each year and to be able to implement that and take them as far as they did in just obviously that short amount of time, I think is obviously what stands out the most to me and everyone else who watches them.
So the big question in Leesburg is, how is Lee County going to be able to close the gap? Do you think Lee County can close that gap? And if so, what does that look like?
I think Lee County can absolutely close the gap. If you look at last year when they played TCC, I think it was on 4th and 8, and Weston Bryan came up inches away, and that could have been the game. That could have been the complete turnaround. So I don't even think that there's this big gap that we're kind of playing it out to be. I really think they're on a level playing field, and it really just comes down to who shows up, who makes crucial plays, and I know that's something Weston Bryan said he was working on this season. Pocket awareness, making crucial plays, reading defenses, and then having Usmani Chroma obviously helps them out a total.
We know how much
in the region we've been in for many years has always been tough, so this isn't anything different than what we're used to. I remember there was a stretch where the state champion came out of our region 5 years in a row. So, when you're down here in South Georgia, you're going to be no matter what A's you are, you're going to be in a tough region. And, ours is clearly the toughest in 6A, maybe the toughest in the state, one of the toughest in the nation. But, the good thing about that is it gets you ready for playoff time. You're not going to see anybody in the playoffs tougher than you've seen during the regular season.
Morgan, how important is it for Fabrizio and this Lee County squad to find someone else other than Usmani Chroma, whether that's in the backfield, whether that's through the passing game? Just how important is that for them, especially at the end of the season when he might wear down a little bit?
Well, you and I talked about this earlier today. I feel like we talked about it all last season. They had Braxton Honer. Now it's kind of like it's just Usmani almost. I feel like you can't wear and tear him down. This is his senior season. You want to give him those carries. And I feel like this is their year. If they want to make the state championship, Usmani has to go out with the state championship title, but they're going to have to find some relief for him, and it can't be lining him up at wide receiver. You're just going to have to find somebody, not necessarily split the carries, but to give him a rest because we know those teams are on him. Somebody has to give him a break at some point, and somebody else is going to have to step up in order for this team to get over that hump and take care of a team like TCC and Coffee, especially in this tough region.
4th and 1. What we got? Go.
All right, coming up, we have new head coaches. We are talking plus NIL. How are coaches handling the NIL landscape across high school and college? Plus a full breakdown of all 52 teams in the region, or in this state. And so, how are teams handling the NIL? Plus 52 teams across South Georgia. We're covering them all coming up next after the break.
4th and 1. What we got? What we got? What we got? What we got? Go.
All right, still to come, a look at all the coaching changes around South Georgia. Some familiar faces return, and some guys ready to cement their name at the top of the food chain. Plus, NIL has changed the game forever. How are high school coaches handling big dollar promises to student athletes and educating families? And later, we are breaking down all 52 high school teams in our coverage area. We give you some names to be on the lookout for in the 2024 season. Sports Talk continues after the break. All right, it's time to take a look at one of the other regions that had some significant changes, and that's the 2A region. Let's take a look at that now, and we're going to talk about Class 2A, Regions 1 and 6. Sumter here in South Georgia kind of being isolated now. They're going to play some of those teams up north near Macon, Morgan. We've talked a lot about that. And then now you lose some of these teams in Region 6, Crisp, Cook, no more Fitzgerald, no more Worth, no more Berrien. So it's just those teams here in South Georgia, and there's some high expectations.
Yeah, Aaron, you said it. The expectations are high for the Hornets this year. I spoke with Coach Slack, and he knows this region is tough. So finishing at the top, this region won't be easy. They have a young core, 36 sophomores on the 54-man roster with just 7 seniors. And on top of all that, they have a new look at quarterback, which I'm excited for. MJ Tippins will be leading the offense. And then we take a look at the Crisp County Cougars. They're also entering their 3rd year under head coach Lawrence Smith. And they have a lot to build on from last year. I'm excited for them as well. They got their first playoff win under Coach L. And he told me this year they're hoping to make a deeper playoff run. They're returning a lot of skilled guys, including quarterback Hagen Slim and his top target, Deshaun Fett. And then we take a look at Sumter County. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Sumter County. They finished at 500 for the first time since 2019 last year under second coach Will Rogers. I know you really like Coach Rogers, and I really like the foundations that he's laid in Americans, and I'm excited to see what they can do with that this season. But like I said, Coach Rogers has given the team the stability they needed, and while replacing quarterback Anthony Tyson may be tough, with the return of A.J. Kearse and a lot of other talent, I think they should be all right this year.
I think the defense, we the top. Yeah, we got the top defense in the region, probably even the state, you know. That was most of the starters that coming back, that we were always greater at that defense.
Biggest part of changing the course is just playing to a standard. And that's what we preach the same thing every day. We got to play to a standard. It's not about who we're going against. It's all about us and us improving every day. So, again, if you look back at our games that we lost last year, I guarantee you can find some mistakes that we made to just completely kill ourselves and cause us to lose the game. So I try to focus basically on us more than the other team here and raising our bar and our standard and our expectation.
When we look at these two regions, let's start with the Cook side of things. Cook they had a veteran team last year. We're talking about guys that broke records, and now it's changed. Now you have younger guys that are going to have to step up. Morgan, what about this region makes it tough to you?
This is a super tough region. You have a semifinalist team in Cook, a state championship in Pierce, and then Crisp County coming down from 3A. I mean, I feel like this region could go anyway.
Janier, I know you spent a lot of time with Cook last year and the record-breaking, breaking brothers record. What about Cook gives you hope that the program and what Coach Slack is doing there can continue into this year despite the loss of so many veterans?
I think it is just playing with those veterans and seeing what they were able to do and learning from them, working with them day in and day out. I mean, that just shows these younger guys what it takes to get there, what they have to do. It's not going to be easy, especially when you talk about the region that they're in. But I just think surrounding themselves with that kind of talent, so young in their football journey, is huge.
Look, I have been really, really excited. I don't know why, but I think Morgan's kind of talked me into the Crisp County Cougar rhetoric.
They're going to be good.
Coach L has me excited for this season. You have had a chance to spend a lot of time with Coach L and what Crisp has been able to do. You mentioned Hagen Slim, Deshaun Fed, that kind of connection, what's going on there. I really think they have a chance to do something special this year, and I think what he's done over the past couple of seasons has started to build that culture. What specifically about Coach L do you think lends this team to kind of buying into what he's preaching?
I feel like he just believes in those guys, and those guys also believe in him. I know we all know Coach L played in the NFL. If you see him, he's huge. He looks like an NFL guy, and I think they just like that, having that type of presence there, someone who really believes in them. And like I said, he's laid his foundation. He knows what he's expecting from the team. The team knows what they're expecting from him. And I think just that mixture of the experience. He told me they don't have a lot of multiple star players on this team this year, but I feel like that's just made them closer together. Everybody's trying to be somebody this year, and I think that's what's going to set them apart.
Well, look, Sumter and Crisp meet week 1. tomorrow night, and that's going to be a heavyweight bout, both on the coaching staff and on the field. And I can't wait for it. I might have to make the trip out there. We definitely have to have somebody at that game because it is going to be fun to watch. Let's move over to the Single A Division II region. And Morgan, you have argued.
I think this is the best region in the state. This is my favorite region. It's one to watch.
You
for
have
sure.
definitely argued this be the toughest region in the state. Brooks County, Clinch County, Irwin County, Lanier, and then Turner. This is I don't even know if we call this a heavyweight fight. This is
Battle of the Champions, I feel like.
all these teams have been in contention, minus Turner County. All these teams have been in contention. We know Lanier County has made some progress over the years. This has got to be one of the toughest regions.
Yeah, it definitely is a tough region for sure, Aaron. Like you said, a lot of these teams have been state championships contentions. They're small but mighty. And I've looked at these teams in the past few years. Brooks, Clinch, and Irwin were all in the same region. 2018, Clinch won state. 2019 and 2020, Irwin County won state. In 2021, Brooks County won state. I think with that alone, that just proves how stacked this region is. And then you add in Lanier County and Turner County, both on the rise with their first-year head coaches. This is the region to watch for me.
Will be even higher this year because Class A lower division has moved teams like Irwin County and Brooks County. It's become a lot tougher.
The region's going to be a lot tougher this year, so obviously our schedule is going to be tougher, but we're a little bit more mature than we were last year. There's some guys that are back off of that team that had played in the playoffs, but we got to stay hungry.
We want to have that tough schedule in the beginning because at the end, my big thing is I want to win those last 5 games, and the only way to get ready for those last 5 games is to play some tough games in the beginning, and so we play a tough schedule to try to get ready for that.
We have probably the toughest region in Single A D2. I mean, you got multiple teams that are state championship contenders year in and year out. And, I think the thing that just sets us apart is probably going to be our connection. We have a very tight-knit group. Our guys trust each other. We were very young last year. We got some young guys that have some great experience. I like to look at it like this. Our team played almost a year and a half's worth of games last year, where a lot of teams were playing 10 games. We played 14.
I'm so excited to watch that region play out. I don't really know who, you'll have to find out later, who I think is going to win that region, but I am excited to watch that region play out. Morgan, I'm going to go back to the Brooks County situation, and we're going to get into the coaching changes a little bit later. We've been very high on this team for a number of years, and they always start the season slow, and then they find a way and they're in a semifinal like they were last year. They're in the state championship. What about Brooks County just breeds that belief that they're going to get it done at the end of the day?
I think it started with Coach Freeman. They have that hammer in them, if you will. Like you said, they started 1-4 last season. I remember vividly, I interviewed Coach Freeman before they played Irwin County, and I said, y'all are having a losing season. He said, we're having a losing season, but we won't finish that way. And they didn't finish that way. He let me know they weren't going to finish that way, and they did. And I was out at Brooks County's practice yesterday, and I spoke with Coach, and I just noticed they're going through some growing pains, but it's the same thing they went through last year. They're going to get it together, and I think they're going to be good, just like they have been in the past.
Look, I've been on the Brooks County train since Jamal Sanders. You know how much I loved that guy playing football. Janier, Irwin County, Lanier County, Clinch County. Every game is going to be a gauntlet when you get to that end of the schedule. I know a lot of the talk this offseason has been about identifying depth, and I believe you spoke to Coach Soliday about that, where he felt like some of those backup players weren't really up to speed. What did he say that they were doing in order to try to address that?
He said they participated in a lot more OTAs this season. It was all about the off-season work in the weight room and also just getting out on the field a little bit earlier. And I think that's going to help these guys when you get deeper, especially as it gets colder out. I mean, and they're doing it in the trenches in summer. So I think as the season goes on, you get a little bit more adjusted. You're a little bit more conditioned. It's going to play a big role when it comes down to those games.
She said colder. Right now it's not cold in
right
South Georgia.
No,
those teams are struggling.
Definitely in the trenches.
Late in the season, it does matter. And we're going to talk a little bit later about a team coming from out west to play here in the South Georgia Heat. That's going to be a lot of fun. I agree. It's going to take some of those things in the offseason that kind of project towards the regular season to make you successful, and they have definitely started that down there in Ocilla. All right, after the break, we're going to look at some new faces trying to bring the winning culture to some South Georgia programs. More sports talk coming up next. So many changes, and we're going to get back to that Single A Division II. The same teams we just said had a gauntlet of a schedule. That was going to be the most difficult region in all of South Georgia. Well, they all have a bunch of new leaders, and that starts with with Brooks County, where we talked about Maurice Freeman. The only returning coach is Soliday at Irwin County. Let's take a look at some of those coaches. Josh McFather takes over for Maurice Freeman. David Dean at Lanier County. Demario Barber takes over at Turner County in his first year. And welcome back Jim Dickerson to the Clinch County Panthers. This is something we've talked about over the course of the offseason, Morgan, how these coaches are either coming back to South Georgia, how they're going to change the culture, or how they have to replace legends like Maurice Freeman.
You talk about replacing legends like Coach Freeman. Like I said, I was at practice with Brooks County this week, and they're still bringing the hammer. But I think even Coach Freeman knew this had to happen. When I interviewed him, he said they need a younger guy, and I talked to the players. They said Coach McFather has swag. Coach Freeman was a little old school, so they like the swag that he's bringing.
Coach Freeman has swag.
He does have some gangster walk.
I watched Coach Freeman do a little OG walk into practice. Coach Freeman has swag. Janier, Demario Barber, you had a chance to talk with him about Turner County and just what he wanted to bring his first year. What was that conversation like, and what did you see when you were out there with them?
I think he's just excited to bring it back to Turner County. I mean, that was the school he went to. He was a standout player there. He graduated in 2007. He knows what it takes to be a Turner County Titan, and he just really wants to put something good out there on the field. That was his big motto. I just want to put something good out in the field for Turner County, and I think he's really excited. I think he has the guys buying in with him. And I think they're really turning a page out there in Turner.
Yeah, all four of these guys really excited to kind of face this new challenge. And they spoke about what those challenges were earlier.
I just want to put a good product on the field. You know, as a first-year head coach, I want to go out, I want to look good, I want to put a good product on the field. It's not about wins and losses for me. You know, it's all about looking good, putting a good product out there for Turner County, representing that team.
I've told a lot of people this is kind of like being handed the keys to a Ferrari. Obviously, Brooks County's been traditionally very successful, and so to be able to step into this position is a blessing, first and foremost. But the mindset moving forward has just been to continue the tradition and to continue to do the things that has made Brooks County successful.
He said, handed the keys to the Ferrari. I love that. I wish somebody give me keys to a Ferrari. And that's exactly what that is. It's a Ferrari, Morgan. I want to talk about Jim Dickerson in Clinch County, coming back where he won state championships. What was that atmosphere like, being out there, watching the players engage with him, knowing that this guy has won before?
He is a Panther through and through. He's from Homerville. He bleeds the red and black. I spoke with Aaron Bryant. He said he's like our dad out here on the field. And you can see it. He gets down there with the players. He's talking to them. He brought so much energy to that practice, and that's exactly what I love. He knows what it means to win. He knows what it means to be a Clinch County Panther. I don't see why he can't bring another title back there.
Look, I'm just going to say this. When region play starts and these teams start going head-to-head, I don't know how we're going to cover it. I don't know what these games are going to look like, but I'm really excited for what this region is going to bring, and it's going to be a lot of good football, and it wouldn't shock me if one of these teams at the end are standing on the podium with the state championship trophy. There are some other changes around the area. Let's get to one where we just got done with the 6A region. It's Tift County, and that's Jeff Littleton. Started at Bainbridge before, and now he's with Tift County, and this is a guy that we have very high hopes for. He's somebody that took a Bainbridge program, and we saw the consistent winning year after year after year. And then last year they had that tough loss to Perry. I mean, it was a very defensive game. We were so excited for them. And now he's with Tift County. But a lot about Tift County has been the culture change, Janier.
Yeah, it has been. And if you've been there the last few years, I mean, they've gone through a number of coaches. Nobody's really kind of bought into the program like they used to. And I think that's why they brought Littleton in, obviously, to bring that back and for him to really shake it up there. I mean, Tift County has all the resources they need to be a really powerhouse program in these 6A, if it goes ever back to 7A schools. And Jeff Littleton is really just the leader in that.
Well, you got to be positive. You got to have some excitement. You got to encourage, and you got to learn. You got to get through some tough times, some obstacles and adversity, and you got to find a way to get over those things, and that's what we're doing.
I heard you on the interview. You asked him who are some guys that stand out. He said the Tift County Blue Devils. So it's not about I over there. It's about we. And we do have some more changes around South Georgia. Jay Walls takes over that job of Jeff Littleton's in Bainbridge. Tom Causey, new head coach at Miller County of way of Ola, and then he was also a coach in Alabama. Chance Jones takes over at the Southland Academy. How about this, Morgan? Corey Joyner, Westover. I cannot wait.
I'm excited.
Westover versus Doherty, Ewell versus Corey. It's going to be the game of the week, I can tell you already right now. And then Harvey Smith takes over at the Stewart County Knights. All right, coming up, we are not done yet. NIL, it's been a big talking point this offseason. How are coaches handling it? Stay with us. We'll tell you after the break. In July of 2021, the NCAA began to allow student athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. Since then, the rules continue to loosen. It was only a matter of time before it reached the lower levels. In October of 2023, the Georgia High School Association approved a bylaw that allowed changes for high school athletes to profit off of NIL, giving coaches more responsibility to educate players and families. Perhaps long overdue, but still navigating the murky waters, this new normal isn't easy. Student athletes call them coach. Their role? Motivator, friend, mentor, even disciplinarian, all while helping individuals develop and improve performance.
That's it. Get a block right there. Good, good. Hey, down.
With the landscape of NIL in sports, coaches now face a new challenge.
First, I tell them, anybody approaches you, let's sit down and talk about it. And that's happened with a couple of our kids because, the world we live in, there's people trying to take advantage of, of young, good athletes.
We as a program, we can't represent the kid, so you have to have representation. So it's very tricky. You have to make sure you get the right people that's not taking advantage of the kid.
On July 18, 2024, the GHSA amended the rules to prevent clubs and collectives from allowing athletes to profit at the high school level. What exactly does that mean? The NIL can't be associated in any way with the school, its logos, facilities, or video footage relating to it.
To transfer to 10 schools and do all this different stuff and a lot of lies that are being told with NIL, I think people really need to sit back and really watch it.
Compete on three, compete on me. 1, 2, 3, compete.
Name, image, and likeness is here to stay, and if done properly, can be life-changing for student athletes across the country, especially here in the South.
I mean, if there's somebody in our community, that wants to, promote them and their name, image, likeness, and give them some money and do it all by the right rules and regulations, I'm all for it.
If a guy is that popular a player and he can make money and change his family situation off of his talent, then I welcome it. And so we just need some leadership to come together and give us some real rules to deal with.
If a player is that good, he's able to help his family, help himself early. A lot of our kids are poverty bound. If they're able to make a little money to help them, I think it's a great thing. But it's tricky because it can divide a locker room if you don't manage it the right way. But I am for the kid getting paid if he can get paid. Just doing the right thing and doing it the right way, to me, is the right thing to do.
Georgia became the 30th state to allow student athletes at the high school level to benefit from NIL. The rules and impact will continue to change over the next several years, and coaches, of course, are going to have to continue to guide their players through that process. Morgan, Janier, I want to get your kind of overall thoughts before we wrap up here on the NIL in the high school level. Are you for it? Are you against it? I'll start with you, Janier.
I'm not really for it. I think it kind of takes away the idea of amateur football. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest, yeah.
Morgan.
I agree with Janier, but I do like what Coach Felton said about how if they have the opportunity to help out their family, that will help them. And I think that's a great thing, especially in some of the areas that we have down here in South Georgia.
Yeah, I have some mixed feelings about it. I don't want to be long and drawn out about it. I think it could be a positive and a negative depending on how you use it. I think Coach Calhoun said it. Like, if a mom and pop wants to help these kids out, give them some notoriety, it does help their families out, fine. But when you start to get into the landscape of transferring schools and now you're just kind of taking it overboard. And I think for high school athletes, that can be a lot for them, especially when we know how much money they're talking. So I just think there needs to be some rules and regulations. And we're going to see that over time. This is not going away, despite how we might feel about it. I hate this term, but I am interested to see where this goes at this level because we've seen what it's done at the collegiate level. All right, South Georgia, I know that was a serious topic. We are not done yet. We are just getting started. If you're tuning in right now on NBC and ABC, make sure you go download the app or switch over to the digital platform because we are going to be breaking down all 52 teams in our coverage area over there in just about 2 minutes. You are not going to want to miss it. We're talking regions, players to watch, who's going to win the regions, and of course, you're going to get our thoughts and about these teams and what they're going to be doing this season. So you're going to want to make sure you tune in for that. Right now, head over there to our digital platform, WALB.com, to watch us. Thank you for joining us.